Website with a page for this, with some resources on there and a link that you may need later, but I'm going to repost that link too. So if you want, you can go there. I post everything there. It's also a good way to get a hold of me. All my contact info, Instagram, Twitter. I got an About Me. I don't think I did LinkedIn because I always called it LinkedIn. I like to say things wrong sometimes. So, all right. So I'm going to give you some time to get there if you haven't yet. I know the network's slow. So it's all lowercase letters. bit.ly/itechvid. So I am Patrick Donovan. Donovan Science on the Twitters. Shameless plug right now. If you haven't voted yet for iTech Board, you can vote for me. So I'm on there. Patrick Donovan, big name. I'm a tech integrationist at Ames High School. I've been in that position for this is my third year. Before that, I taught science, mostly high school, for 9 years across Iowa, Cedar Rapids, South Hamilton, Ames. So a lot of different classes I've taught. But for me, video is one of those things that I don't think we use correctly enough. It's used a lot, but not always well. But it can be a very, very powerful tool. Now, before I even get going to the slides, the reason why I say it's a powerful tool is because a lot of people are very visual. And I was watching a presentation by George Kuros recently, and he played this video. So it's a song, Shut Up and Dance by Walk the Moon, with movie scenes in it. I'm going to stop. I had passed by that song probably 1,000 times on my Sirius radio. It wasn't until after I saw that video that I actually started listening to the song. Now I have it stuck in my head. So it was not because of the song, it's more because the video got my attention, and then the song came in. That's how I kind of work. I'm a very visual person, I really like videos, but it's also about the information. So I really think video is a powerful tool. I tried to make like Thor's hammer with YouTube. I just couldn't find a good image, so that worked for what I had. I'm playing with images in different, it's like Keynote. It's my second time using Keynote in like the last decade, so I'm going to try it. So last year I had to install a new kitchen faucet. Never did it before. So of course the first place I go is YouTube. And I watch a couple videos on how to do it, and then I do it. I changed my kitchen faucet. It still works. I had to install a new stove just recently. It's a drop-in, and no one knows what a drop-in stove is because they don't sell them in stores. You have to special order. It actually rests on the countertop. And there's no base to it. That's wrong to me. I have a physics degree, started in engineering, and feel like it should stand on something. But that's how I did. And so I watched a lot of YouTube videos before we did that. And it works so far. And of course, this year I went on RAGBRAI for the first time ever, and I watched I don't know how many of these videos by this group about everything about bike riding. How to get the seat to the right height, your hydration, how to go up hills correctly, how to train. And I watched them, but then I trained. And I did everything afterwards. And those videos helped a lot because of the information they contained. It was more than what I would have gotten just by reading something or looking at a picture. Of course, videos have a lot of information. But when I think about classrooms and use of video, of course one of the big things that pops in my head is that thing there. The most dangerous thing in schools besides the thing that cuts paper. Of course when students see that in, they start to think about this. It's movie time. Even if it is a really good thing they're watching, like Bill Nye, it's still that. It's sitting watching a video for, what, 45 minutes in the dark, trying to stay awake, fighting to sleep, or just going to bed because no one's going to know anyways. Even though we're using new technology, it's still very passive when we deal with videos. We have kids watch it and then we do something else. Instead of making it passive, we need to focus on more ways of making video more of an active thing, because it can be a very powerful thing, but not really if it's passive. If I watched all those biking videos and I did nothing about biking, I wouldn't know anything about biking. If I watched those biking videos and then I went biking, I watched the kitchen faucet video and then I installed the kitchen faucet. So I had to do something. I had to be active with that. Before you go any further, this is the key thing. Less is more. And I know that's a mathematically incorrect statement, but it's right. Okay, it's just that I don't think we really need to make kids watch 45, 90 minutes of a video if there's 2 minutes of it that we really care about. Just because it's Friday and I'm feeling a little lazy and I have nothing else planned for today, it doesn't help us out. It does more harm than good. And I know because I walk by all these storage closets full of VHS tape still. But it's, you know, it's a video store in our classrooms. Keep it short. 2 minutes is better than 10 minutes. So anything I'm talking about today, please keep that in mind, because if all we do is switch it up so now we're making kids watch like an hour worth of video instead of doing an hour or anything else, it's not really doing anything better. Sorry, I had to turn off my watch. So I do have a Padlet. The link was also on my site. And I'm going to leave that up there just because normally when I do anything, I like to make sure that there is a back channel or something else going on. So I kind of put the question for today. The question you should be able to walk away answering on that Padlet. You can add to it. That's the thing. It's open. Add to it away. I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to delete anything unless somebody posts something really bad. But if you go there, the question is, how can we use video in a more effective way, both with our students and ourselves, or maybe just even with other teachers? So what can we do differently? What can we do better than what we've done in the past? Because, you know, I'm talking about things that I've done or things I want to do. I'm sure you guys have great ideas, and, you know, ideas are only as good as what we share. So share them out, and it's all. If you haven't used a Padlet before, use it. It's an awesome tool. I did 4 presentations at our district PD day last Monday. I was at the English Teacher Conference on Thursday, and I'm doing 2 here during ITAC. And I think Padlet is in almost every single one of my sessions. I'm using it in some way just because it's one of my, really, it's the Swiss Army knife of tools as far as I'm concerned. It has a lot of purposes. Just double click on the wall and you can start typing. You don't have to put your name in, you don't have to log in. So if you go to that link, that should take you there. So it's ITAC Vid 1. Always running out of links. So that's the question. How can we do things differently? How can we do things better with a tool that can be very powerful? So I'll get you started. Basic things. If you're going to make a kid watch a YouTube video, we can at least attach it to a Google form. And that's the easy thing you do. Inside a Google form, whether you're on the new forms like this or the old forms, you can add in YouTube videos. It's only videos you can add to a Google form. But if you're assigned a video to watch by your students, add some questions to it. And higher order thinking questions, or something to get them really thinking about it. Not just watch this video, then come into class, but this is also a way if you want to check to see if kids actually watched the video. You ask them a question, they can only answer if they did. But it's a way you can easily, you know, take a YouTube video and put it into a Google form. So I've done this with our staff before, just to model what we can do. Of course, there are other tools out there, so you can add more questions to videos that are out there, or videos you create. Zaption's one of them, Edpuzzle. Wait, no, I can. Edpuzzle. There are a lot of them out there. If you search around on my site, you guys got that link, I did a side-by-side comparison of 2 of them. Just because if I see 2 tools are very much alike, I gotta know why they're different. And so I actually played with them side-by-side. You can watch that lovely video if you have 15 minutes to waste. But I mean, Zaption's nice because, you know, I mean, all these tools are nice because you can quickly add a question, and when students answer those questions, you can get that feedback from them very quickly. You get all these lovely charts, which can allow you to make informed decisions in your classroom. So if you're thinking about using it as like a formative assessment tool, that can work really, really well with that. I maybe forgot to put the disclaimer. I'm not talking about the flipped classroom today. What I'm talking about can be applied to a flipped classroom, and yes, I flipped my own classroom, but I also flipped my own PD. I just use video a whole lot because I find it to be more powerful, but I'm always trying to use video in a better way. This is much better than just having a kid watch a video and hopefully come to class. But again, 2 minutes is better than 10 minutes. So if you find a 20-minute video on YouTube, don't make your kids watch it. Look for a 2-minute video, a 3-minute video, 4-minute video. I love those videos. They're only like 1 or 2 minutes. Easy to watch. You can get some good ideas on that from your students. Video notes. This is kind of one of my favorite ones out there too. It's actually videonot.es. It's a way to add notes to videos. And that's kind of a nice little thing because if you're going to have your kids watch some videos or your staff, you can easily have notes there to share. And at least add to it so you can come back to it. Or if you're watching a video too, it's something you use. This is a tool that there's a lot of different ways you can use it, but at least it's kind of like just keeping track of what's being said. Again, shorter. It works with a couple different video sources. Dialogues is, okay, it's video dialogues. So pretty much you can have a video that a group watches, and pretty much they can have a conversation about that video. So it's video dialogues, dialogues. I work with our ESL instructional coach. And this is something that she's used before with her ELL students. Just because it's something where they can have that video there, they can have that conversation on the side. And so it's something where it has a lot of purposes. And if you're teaching like a world language course, you could give them a video that's in a different language, and they can work as a group to try to, you know, actually figure out what they're saying. But dialogues is really good in there. I just threw a Ken Robinson video in there. And you can type, and it'll show when in the video you typed, and then you can have even comments on top of that. And so it's a nice little tool to do that, to add more to the video. YouTube is, of course, one of those, it's a good tool to use. Don't block in your schools. If somebody's blocking your school, tell them no. There's ways to teach your students about what's appropriate and to not just be watching music videos all day when they're in class. Or rather, teach them than block it. But with this is that it's not just about finding videos on YouTube, but it's also about you can create your own videos. And that's the thing, as a content area teacher, I taught physics, astronomy, meteorology, geology, taught a lot of different things. And I would actually try creating my own videos. Because oftentimes it's something I want to show students, but we didn't have time for it in class, or maybe sometimes it's that experiment that I really don't want to do in front of my students in case one, it really fails miserably, or two, it explodes in my face, literally. And sometimes those are the best experiments, but not the safest with the room full of students. And so you can create your own content videos if you don't find great ones out there. This is an example of what I did as a reflective tool. So now I'm going away from with students, I'm talking about me as a teacher. I use video to reflect on my own learning, on my own teaching. This is an example of, I was doing a graduate release model think lab, I think. I have to remember what I was doing. It's one of the labs. And I was doing it in a physics classroom. Teacher was gone, so I asked them, like, can I take over for your sub? And I went in there and did that. But I was able to then have that video and watch it again. Now, that is really powerful because if y'all remember probably when you're undergrad, you do your practicum, you probably had to take a little microphone and listen to yourself teach. Well, that was information, it was useful, but it's not a lot of information because when you're teaching, you're not just talking. And so it's about your interactions with other students, it's how you're moving around. Like I figured out really quickly that oftentimes in the first couple of years of teaching, I would talk a lot like this. And I didn't realize it. And then I'd have kids with no idea what I said because I constantly talked my hand from my mouth. I didn't know I was doing it. This is the little buddy I use to record myself. You can use a lot of things, but this I like. It's a Swivel. Just because it tracks you. So you see the little microphone kind of like this here, but instead it's infrared. So as I move, it moves. But it turns, it swivels. Name is Swivel, it swivels. So it kind of just tracks you along, follows you along. Now that's great because as a teacher, you know you're not just standing in front of your students all day, and so now you can record yourself moving around. I've had teachers do this to record themselves teaching so they can share with others and reflect on it. I have some that have recorded quick lessons that they've done. We also don't do open house at our high school anymore. Instead, all teachers, well, they're supposed to anyways, prepared a video message to parents talking about their classes and stuff like that. So I had some teachers using this, so they'd be up at the whiteboard talking real quick. Stuff they normally say at open house. This is a nice little tool. It's the only one I hear that costs a lot of money that I'm going to talk about because it's a $400 tool. That's a little expensive, just a bit. So pretty much you can put your iPad or iPhone or Android phone, any iOS or Android device into it, and you just hook up the microphone and it tracks you. That's a nice little thing because then you can easily upload it and share with people. We've used it a lot in our district. We have two. One is mine, one is the district's. But another way of thinking about this, I had this idea over the summer and I didn't get to test it yet because it took me a while to buy the other tool I want, which is actually 1/3 the price of the Swivel, was the fact that sometimes you just want to know what's going on in your classroom. Because oftentimes, one reason why we have instructional coaches in our district, we talk about this all the time, it's great to have that other set of eyes in there to look for things that you may not be able to pay attention to when you're in the act of teaching. But there are nice little devices you can put in the corner that'll actually be able to record the whole class, at least see the motion in that. You may not have great audio, but a simple GoPro can do that. And so I have a GoPro, which I used when I went on RAGBRAI. It was a lot of boring video of highways. It was not so much fun to watch afterwards as much as I thought. But you usually put one of these up in the corner of the room because it uses a wide angle lens. It's going to capture the whole room. It's really small, it's unobtrusive, it can hide up there. Then afterwards you can watch the video, because if you're not sure about your interactions, and say you're in my classroom and I find that I'm talking to this part of the class a whole lot and forgetting about that part, that's something I need to know. And that's something where if you don't have somebody else in the room with you to watch yourself. Better yet, grab somebody else to watch the video with you and talk about it. Have an idea what you're looking for, talk with somebody, have that video. Or maybe ask them to watch it on their own time. Come back with you with observations maybe that you didn't make. It's a great way to reflect. And we have to reflect our own teaching. I think we heard that today. Google Hangouts. I gotta find better pictures on my computer for Google Hangouts. But I work with a couple people in our district. We don't get a chance to meet face to face sometimes because we don't have time to drive and meet. So we do Google Hangout chats all the time. This is, again, another tool that's very useful because we've used Google Hangouts before to connect with authors, scientists. We've been able to have meetings with people that can't get together by using Hangouts. And every time I teach Hangouts to some of our staff members, they go home and try it, and I get pictures like what I show you right here. They put on all the silly hats and that because you click buttons and they automatically show up there. This is why I can't hang out with my friends anymore online and do video chats, because they'll put a mustache on me every single time. It gets a little distracting. But Hangouts are nice because if you do a Hangout on air, it can record. We had a math teacher for a while who would actually do a review activity at night. And she'd say, okay, I'm doing a Hangout on air, post your questions, and I'll answer them. Because at the time we had the restriction on the students, they couldn't be in the Hangout on air. And so they would post questions, the teacher would be online answering those questions. And the students who could show up then, it was a Hangout on air, it went automatically to YouTube. And it was posted for all the other students to see. So you could have review sessions outside of class. You can even have a review session kind of at the end of the day and just record it. Hangouts are a really nice tool because it's easy to connect. Most of you probably have a school Google account. You have a school Google Hangout account then. And if you do a Hangout on air, automatically gets posted to YouTube so you can share it out. So it's a very easy tool to use. We used it in my master's classes when I was at Iowa State, just because we'd actually have a night we met in one of our classes and it was a Hangout on air. So if you could get there, you got there, you're part of the conversations. If not, it was sent to YouTube, you can watch it later. So that's a nice little tool. I do a lot of screencasts because if I'm trying to show somebody how to do something, it's not really beneficial for me to stand over them the whole time and just kind of tell them where to point. So a screencast is a very simple thing to do where you can actually just record your screen and show people how to do things. So this is actually one of the videos I have on YouTube for our staff once Google Classroom had calendar integration. First thing I did is I created a video about how to set that up and I sent it to them all. Because there's no way I was going to have time to get with every teacher or, hey, I wasn't even in the district that day. So I sent this to them so they could get it right away. And it's really easy to make a screencast. There are a lot of tools out there. If you have a Mac, you could just use QuickTime and record your screen. I use a couple different tools depending on what I'm doing. If you have a Chromebook, you can use Snagit, S-N-A-G-I-T. Works great on a Chromebook. I used Screencast-O-Matic, which if you use that, there's a free version, but pay the $15 to get the pro version. It's $15. Don't have a couple Starbucks coffees for a week. You'll be okay. You'll afford it. And the reason why I say that is because then you can edit it and you have more options inside of it. There are some other ones out there, but I don't like ones that really restrict you to get free. If you have the money, one of the nice ones out there is called Camtasia. It's $100 or $80 for educators. If you're a Google certified trainer, you can get it for free because Camtasia gave it to all the trainers for free, so that's why I have it. Because I can't get anybody to buy it for me. I don't have a budget. But it's nice because I can do a lot of great things and I can highlight things. If you go, well, first off there, you see on the right side, you see the cursor, there's a yellow circle around it. And that's just a simple thing I can click to do so people can know what I'm talking about. I try to make my screencast as quick as possible. and they're basic. Here's how you do that. And I do that for our staff because I want them to be able to watch it, do it, and then rewatch it when they get stuck. Because they're not always going to have me around. I work with like 90 to 100 teachers. There's only one of me. And this week is the second week of us all using the same new tool to schedule students. And I'm not there. They have the videos. And so make them quick. I try to make them as quick as I can. I did say there's this Ed Puzzle Inception one that's 15 minutes long. That is way uncharacteristic for me. So Screencast, you're just recording a screen, talking over it. And of course, I use this when I did a flipped classroom. Physics. I would always, sometimes if I wasn't there, just couldn't be in school, and there's questions coming to me from my students, I would just bring up like a whiteboard, virtual whiteboard, and draw on it to answer some questions and send it to them. It was quick and easy. It was a way to communicate. When my son was born, I was out of school for 2 weeks. My classes kept going forward. I was sending them videos nonstop. I would say at the end of the day, send me your questions. The next morning, because I'm sure I'd be up for about 2 or 3 hours overnight for some reason. You know, small thing that makes a lot of noise, doesn't sleep all the time. And I would send them the videos. It's real easy to do. There we go. I don't believe that you need to do most of the PD that we do in person. So Flip PD, if you go do a search for it, it's a really different way. It's not really different. It's just a better way of doing some of the minimalistic tasks that we have to do sometimes. If you're just giving information to people, giving updates or telling them how to do something, don't make everybody get into one place and do that, because then you're going to have a million questions and you never actually get done. This is MoveNote, simple tool. So if you're scared of most tools, MoveNote, M-O-V-E, note, not sure why I spelled move, is a very easy tool to use, because all it pretty much does is uses your camera. You can add in images or PDFs, and it records it, and as soon as you hit done and it's done processing, it's online. You have a link to share out. So I told you that our staff are using videos for open house now. That's what most of our teachers are using, because it's very simple to do, it's very simple to share out. MoveNote is just one of those nice tools because I can do something really quick and share. So if, let's say you work with an administrator who has a lot of weekly meetings just to catch up what's going on in the district, those can stop, use this, and then you just save your time hopefully to do something better with that time. Luckily I work in a district where we don't do that. But I've worked in districts where we had that weekly meeting and all it was, here's what we're doing this week. Okay, that was useful for me to walk downstairs and over here, close my classroom, do all that. So MoveNote's really simple. Works on every device, pretty much. So that's a lot of ways that you can create videos. I use a lot of different tools. I almost brought all my tools with me. So, I mean, I have the Swivel. Of course, I have some high-def camera that I use for family vacations and stuff. I bring that in. You can buy little flip cameras, real simple. You, of course, probably have a video camera in your pocket. It's really nice and simple on your phone. And there's a lot of different apps you can use with that. You can even do straight uploads to YouTube. Or you can upload to your Google Drive account to share out. If you have an iPhone, you can download iMovie onto it and do some editing on there. There's some other editing apps on there too. So there's a lot of different ways to do that. In my own classrooms, I'd use whatever we had available. And throughout the years, the webcam on the computer, my phone, or something else to bring in, depending on what we were recording. I had a math teacher who was entering a contest. Her students were performed a song and dance and everything to it to win Texas Instrument calculators and get a visit from Maya and Bialik. It was a contest, and so we actually had 3 different video cameras going because we wanted to capture it, not find out after the kids were all gone that we screwed up because it recorded the day it was due. So we had the Swivel going. We had another camera on the tripod, and then I was holding one camera up against the ceiling like this. So I was the tripod for about 20 minutes. So it was fun. But we got the images we need to. So you don't need anything specific. You have the tools in your pocket. But then we got to transfer it to students. Let students make the videos. Let students share out the videos. One of my favorite things I used to do in my 9th grade or science class is that we get to the end of the unit, I'd always want to do something. I wanted to create something. So I give my students the option that they could create a review video over anything we covered, doing anything they wanted over it, but they had to make it so that others could watch it and learn from it. And I would let them loose. And they created some great videos, but then what I did with them is I kept them so that we could show the next students. Put them all into the same Google Drive folder. They can always access that. This is Audrey's Rube Goldberg. This is kind of one of the new ones that actually watch this, and I never count on internet actually working during a presentation. So that's why I don't show the videos. It's just a screenshot. It seems really boring, but I don't trust the internet anywhere. You look at that video, it's something where a younger kid is creating videos of himself trying to do these Rube Goldberg contraptions, and he's sharing it out. And he was just like, one of the main videos you can see with that, he was so happy the first time he got a couple likes. And so sharing out what the students are creating is really easy to do, and a lot of times they're going to want to share those out. Of course, if you have a green screen, you can do a lot with the green screen, and you don't need a lot of money to. I made my green screen for under 10 bucks. Went to the fabric store and I bought fabric, and there was my green screen. It actually sat in my basement in my office. Told you I had a kid, he took over my office, and so I got put into the back storage room. So my background was now a green screen. So every time I had to do a video chat with somebody, I'd be back there, and I'd always change my location based on wherever I felt like with that green screen. But you can do a lot. If you have iPads, you can do TouchCast, which is a very simple app to use, I think. And it's one that you can do the green screen real quickly. Of course, if you have a Mac, you can just record video in front of the green screen, put it into iMovie. It does an okay job with the green screen. It doesn't do a great job. Video, I really wish it did a better job with green screen stuff.
I think it does really well.
It's not the ones that some of our students have done. I think it could be better, but it might have been just the screen we had or the camera. Something did, it was not, I wasn't happy.
You've had really good success with it.
See, and that's what I've heard, so I don't know if it's our, well, that wasn't even class I was working with, some of our people working with. I do like TouchCast because I do think you can do a little bit more with that, and that's an iPad app. And there are a lot of different ways. If you have an iPad, you can buy stands for it, you can buy even microphones for it, the lenses for it, I mean, you can buy a whole kit for it, which costs the same as a really good camera. So I'd probably buy the camera. But you can do that with an iPad, get that, but TouchCast is a really easy one. Just because, talking about volcanoes, you have your students in front of a video of a volcano talking about it, or anything like that. Let's probably go back to that slide. One thing, this isn't happening yet, but I want you to kind of think about possibilities, because I'm always thinking, my head's always going forward, what else can we do? Is that Google has come out now with a nice little way to take multiple GoPros, I think it's like 16, it's like 12 to 16, somewhere in that range, and pretty much put them all in this setup, and it's going to record 360-degree video. And the nice thing is that they already have a viewer for viewing that 360-degree video in Google Cardboard. So, I mean, we can watch a video of that, but the nice thing about it is that if you ever, how many people have ever played with Google Cardboard? Oh, so you need to do more. How many of you had a viewfinder as a kid? Okay, Mattel just came out with, and I have one in my car, I should have brought it in. They came out with the 21st century viewfinder. It's a plastic version of Google Cardboard. You put your phone into it, and you have these little discs that you look at, and it becomes, in a sense, augmented reality, and then also you're in virtual reality. But that thing can help you because pretty much just with a couple lenses, in this case, Google Cardboard works with a magnet. The Mattel one, viewfinder, the so-called viewfinder, just has a button. But you can go into 360-degree video, which means you could be in the coral reef, looking down, looking up, looking left, looking right, and you're going to see video in that direction. There's 360-degree videos on YouTube already. There's a channel for them. It's becoming more and more popular because they can make these high-end systems to record 360-degree video, but GoPro and Google found their setup so they can put these in multiple places. The Google Street View car was here on Sunday. I know because I parked next to it. I geeked out for a little bit. And that has the same kind of thing as taking video in that. Google Expeditions. If you ever heard about that, look that up because I do think that there's a little bit of future with that because I taught earth science in Iowa, which was great when I'm talking about weather. It's not great when I'm talking about volcanoes and plate tectonics because we're in the middle of a plate and nothing fun geologically happens in Iowa. It's solid, it's flat, it's boring. It's not flat on the edges, I know, because I had to bike that. But it's nice that we got to talk about volcanoes. How are my students going to experience what it is like to see a volcano erupting, seeing lava flow going by you? This would be the way we could do that nowadays. So these are some options you think about in the future with your students, is you could have a live 360-degree field trip possibly in the future. You just put on pieces of cardboard and a phone, and all of a sudden your students are almost like they're there. So that's kind of things about options with that, because it's very hard. We're limited. We have limitations. And so in Iowa, I could not teach my students about volcanoes and have them really understand it, where somebody in Hawaii, Alaska, anywhere in the Ring of Fire, they know about volcanoes, and to them that's boring, that's easy. What about tornadoes? They never get those. So, I mean, it's that kind of thing where we're trying to give them those experiences, and this is an experience you can have. Every time we go somewhere on vacation now, I use my phone to take a 360-degree photosphere, because then when we go back, I'll go and look through them. So we're at Badlands over the summer, and we went up top of this one part. My son was just climbing like crazy, and I'm nervous as can be because we're high up and he's running. So we're up there, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna stop. I took a 360-degree video. And so with cardboard, you can go look and see what I saw in every single direction. And so the same thing can happen with videos. Go back for a second. Okay. So there's a lot of different ways you can record videos, but that's what you do with it. And you can't just get to that point where you're just watching videos, because if you're just watching a video, nothing's really going to happen. You're just not going to do anything with it. I mean, it's kind of like if, yeah, you have information coming in, but you're not really doing anything with it. I watch a lot of YouTube videos that nothing happens with that, so it's just in, out. It's not recorded. So those are some of the basic ways. If you are recording videos, share them out. Share to YouTube, at least put them in Google Drive to share out. YouTube is good, just put them up there. But I put in my classroom a few years back, and then I switched districts. I never flipped, I wasn't able to flip again before I came to my current role. My videos are still getting views. It's just a funny thing. Videos I made for my students at that time are still getting views to this day. They're getting comments. And for some reason, people really don't know how to fade in and out music in GarageBand, because it's almost every other day I get a comment thanking me for that video. And I'm just confused, because it was for actually one specific class that had to do a GarageBand podcast, and so it works out really well. So if you do create videos, share them out. If you find some interesting ways to use the video in class, share that out. So I don't know if anybody's posted to the Padlet, because I always like to look for that. And then I can maybe stop talking. There we go. And somebody posted Chewbacca. That's good. Swivel will be a really awesome way to capture students' small group discussions. That is a really good thing. The Swivel has one microphone, but you can get a second microphone. It's just that Swivel is only going to follow one microphone, but you can place the microphones in different locations. I work with a lot of English teachers that like to do Socratic seminars, or lit circles. That's what they call them. So they do lit circles, and they have a group talking about a book, and then they have the audience around them. And so you have observers in that. And the teacher was actually gone for a couple days, and so we recorded all of them. He was able to watch them. The kids had access to them later on. Record lessons for colleagues to review, comment, critique. Does anybody actually share out their lessons with other teachers to reflect on in their district? That's kind of interesting. Because I know that's the thing where in their classrooms we get kind of nervous about somebody else seeing what we're doing, because we don't want to be judged and we don't want anybody to comment. But honestly, that's kind of a nice thing. A lot of school districts in Iowa should have the teacher leadership grant. You have instructional coaches. Bring them in. They are a set of eyes and ears that you can use to help you reflect on your own teaching, because they're not there to tell you how to do your job. Instructional coaches are just there to be another set of eyes, another person you can ask a question to. So I had a teacher ask me to come into their room so I could record their questioning. Because as he's asking questions, he doesn't have time at that point to think about, was that a good question or not, before he's on the next question. So I recorded every single question. And I mean every single question. I'm typing feverishly. And shared them with them. We had a conversation about that. And that's a very easy thing to do. Record a lesson sometime, then have somebody sit down with you. Because that's, the only way you're going to get better is if you actually reflect on what you're doing. And another set of eyes, another set of ears, another brain is going to help you with that. Tools or principles or evidence analysis of their teachers, math videos, I've worked with a lot of teachers that flip their math classrooms just because there may be a concept or something that they don't get. But be careful if you saw in the keynote today. What's the purpose of that video? It shouldn't just be to front load information. So I liked videos sometimes as reviews or to pose questions, pose scenarios. In physics, I only use videos kind of as a way to reflect on what we're doing. Or if there's a case where I couldn't be there and my sub could not accurately explain why that force did not cause that motion, which, believe it or not, there's not a lot of subs that can teach physics. Who knew? And so I would do that, but it would never be just to kind of front load. I found that out early on when I was starting to flip. Student makes how-to videos, like quiz, Zaption. I like those for formative assessment. Vote for Patrick. Let's see. I love formative assessment if it actually informs your instruction. So think about how you can use video for that. You can use it as a ticket out the door, but actually we look at it. Because I know I did this as a teacher. I'd have those little slips of paper. I'd collect from my students on their way out. I put them on my desk, and then I go do other stuff, and then I come back to them a week later. It's already too late for that information to be useful. So there are a lot of tools in there, Zaption, Edpuzzle, and just put it into a Google form. That is the simplest thing I've ever seen to do for a video. If you want to watch a quick couple-minute video, put it in a Google form, a couple questions, you get that all spit out. If you use the new Google Forms, there are new Google Forms out in case you didn't know. You used to have to go to the spreadsheet to get the summary responses. Now it's in the form itself. And so that's nice, you can go and look at it really quickly. So it automatically creates the charts and graphs for you so you can look at it. And so if you want to, you can even use something like Flubaroo to automatically grade it to send feedback. I'm not a big fan of that for points. I don't give grade anything but really assessments with my last couple of years of teaching in the classroom. I don't have to do grades anymore, thankfully. Does anybody else have anything to want to share? I mean, it's kind of like just getting people together and posing ideas sometimes. I've talked for way too much. I will say Padlet, you can put videos on a Padlet. I use Padlet, it's not embedding it, but it's kind of a link and they can work sometimes. I use Padlet to curate resources. So you can even do this with your students too. You can create a YouTube playlist or use any curation tool to pull together some videos that they may find useful about a subject. You don't have to create your own. But again, what's the point of that? And so reviewing wise, there's some people who made some awesome videos out there. There's a video by Adam Savage of Mythbusters. It's a TEDx lesson. And it's really good, TED Ed lesson, sorry, not TEDx. He was talking about how discovered pretty much they were able to measure the diameter of the Earth thousands of years ago. He did a much better job explaining than I could. And it's because he had animations and all this stuff, and that's much better than if I'm staying from my students saying, okay, this is how they did it. And I draw on my whiteboard. You know, it's going to be a little bit better that way. So fine, there's a lot of cool videos out there, and people are putting up there. I think more stuff is posted to YouTube every day than what you could find in a video store about 10 years ago. So you can kind of post a lot of things there. YouTube, you can create playlists easily. Maybe do that for each subject, each content. Work with other teachers, find those videos you need. You can have playlists for your own staff to look at. You can find videos to look for. Our teachers, our professional development, they want to use a video series by Mike Mattos, talking about PLCs and how effective they are. And it's a couple $100 at least for this video. So I'm like, I can probably find a couple videos on YouTube that we can get the same questions really quickly. I mean, it's a really great video, but I don't have that money. You know, why not find something for free? So, and I don't normally like to actually plan to talk for 50 minutes, so that's why I look at the time. You have questions or anything? If you want to see stuff I've posted before, go to my website that I shared with you. Should be able to get to my YouTube channel there. Also, on that site, If you go to this site that says AHS Tech Integration, that's actually my Google site for the teachers I work with. One thing I will say about YouTube, if you have a school account and a personal account, it's a real pain to try to put the same video on both. You can't just share and transfer ownership, like with the Google Doc, which I get so used to doing. So if you're like me and you have 2 accounts, sometimes you have to find ways to post to both if you want it available on different channels. If you click that, you'll go to my school site, you'll be able to see some of the stuff we've done there. And I have a lot of stuff. I didn't really show you how to make a lot of videos or use Screencast for that. That's all on my site, done with videos. So, yeah.
Do you have issues where you're obviously recording students or anything like that, and you need to just be careful you've secured your video so it can't be shared out to the world?
And that's the first thing, look at your school policy first, and then if you need to, it's easier I think for classroom teachers because you know which students you have in your room. You can find out which students are, they sign the form so they can be shared out or not, because I have a lot of teachers that like for their master's classes that have to record their classroom. So I'm like, okay, here's the problem. Technically they can't show that video to other teachers in their master's class. It's because they were able to share that out publicly with the student images unless they were guaranteed that every student was like this. Or we had student teachers that would come in and record themselves, and they definitely can't because they're not our teachers, they're students coming in and doing that. So I try to keep track of that. And so what I do is in iMovie, I will actually, it's not an elegant solution, it works. Again, my background's physics and engineering. I do things that work well, maybe not look pretty. You've seen my slides. But what I do is I actually add annotation boxes. Or picture-in-picture. Like you take I've actually done this before where I've actually done a screenshot of the video and then I took that out and I just kind of blurred it using another tool and I put it back in so it looked like I blurred inside the video because iMovie is the main video editing tool we have on our devices. So I always tell my teachers if you're not sure about the students or not, you don't want to worry about that. Back of the heads, you can't see their faces, you're typically okay. But otherwise, your school should have that release form on record somewhere because you want to make sure that if you have a student who, for some reason, there are very valid reasons for this, they don't want to be recorded and shared out, check that out first.
Have you, used at all, because I haven't, so I don't know how good it is, but I know it's there, the YouTube blur faces?
No, I just found out about that from Jonathan Wiley today, and I got to play with that. But apparently YouTube does have a feature where you can blur faces. And I have not played with it. So
I haven't used it, I just know it's there, so
yeah,
I don't know how good it is.
It's on my to-do list, which is really long after today. But they check that out, so because that's always the thing, because it's, if you don't want to show students, I don't know how well it works and what happens when there's like 30 faces in the camera. So that's just maybe something I can't say. So you just have to be careful of that. And if you're a classroom teacher, you should know your students. I would say do that right away before you record anything in classroom. Know who's on that list and not on that list. That'll just save you a ton of time in the future. Whereas I go into all the different classrooms and I take pictures and videos. And so afterwards I go through and I blur or crop or delete if I can't make it work. If I don't have the time to go through the records. So we have a lot of students. So. Kind of all I have. If you have questions, making videos, sharing them out, just what I've learned. Again, short, to the point, not just a passive activity. It doesn't matter what device it is or what you're using to make it. If it's a passive activity, we know those aren't as effective as active. So how can we make it more active, or how can we put that in students' hands? And give them choices sometimes. That's always a great thing because they may like that really animated video, some may not like that. My wife is a person who would probably done very well listening to really dry, boring lectures because that's something she liked. Whereas I need something a little bit more animated and distracting. So, all right. Well, if you have any questions, please send those to me. We gotta turn that up. Make your own videos, share them. If you come with ideas, add to the Padlet. I'm gonna leave that up, and that's kind of I'll use that in the future too. So.
Can I ask a question on the rule of cardboard?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
So what is without an FC name?
Okay. Thank you.